Welcome to our Certified Cancer Journey Coach panel event. Thank you for joining us. Today we have three fabulous panelists, and we'll go into introductions. But first, I just wanted to spend a few moments talking about what to expect during this panel. We do a few panels during the year. Each one is different because we have different people on our panel each time. And today's panel is a panel of cancer journey coaches, all who are certified. And surprisingly, this group are all cancer survivors, and we also have a cancer patient. So, and what's different about that is our cancer journey coaches are made up of survivors and caregivers. And so having one panel like this where they're all somebody who has actually experienced the cancer journey as a patient themselves is actually a first for us in our panels. I've asked these wonderful coaches to be vulnerable and be real. And part of the reason why I have done that is because what we do is not only hard work, but also heart work. And I really want you to get a feel for what is behind the curtain of cancer journey coaching, but also what it's like to truly be a cancer journey coach. And so we can't do that without being authentic and real and, dare I say again, vulnerable. So you are going to get a glimpse of what it's like. You'll get a glimpse of what's behind the curtain. You know, it's not just the coach with their client, which we don't have clients here today, but it's you getting a chance to ask them any question that you want. And for now, I have a list of questions that have been submitted to us, and from those who have not been able to join us today. But I'll be asking those questions and we will answer them as if you were there, right here in the room with us. Okay, to start, let me introduce myself. I am Shariann Tom. I am the CEO and co-founder of the Cancer Journey Institute. We have been in business and of training cancer journey coaches for over 10 years now. Last year was our 10-year anniversary. And I myself am a cancer survivor. I'm a 5-time cancer survivor of Hodgkin's lymphoma and a gastrointestinal stroma tumor. So in the cancer world, I've had a blood and a solid cancer. And so I feel like I get a little more exposure and experience to what that's all about. But it's not about me today. I'm the moderator. We're going to be hearing from Tom and Maggie and Cathy, and it's going to be about them and about your questions. So with that, I'm going to start off with Maggie. And what I want to do is something a little different than I normally do in these panels. And this is to actually give our panelists a chance to talk about where they were before their cancer diagnosis. And then what happened during the diagnosis, what happened to bring them to the Cancer Journey Institute, and what it's like now to be a certified cancer journey coach. So you're going to get to see the whole trajectory. You're going to get to hear the story. I believe that stories are the most fascinating ways to learn. So with that, let's start with Maggie. Hi, Maggie.
Hi, Shariann. Thank you. Thank you. I was sitting with that phrase that you said, it's hard work. You said it's hard work and heart work. And I'm just sitting with that phrase because that's what I feel. I feel the heart work. And I know to give a little background about me is I was a teacher for many years before I had cancer. And in my teaching career, there were times when I absolutely loved what I did. And then there were times of frustration, and there were, everything in between. But I was coming to a point where I was going to accept more responsibility in my job, and it felt a little daunting to me. I have to say, there was excitement and a lot of apprehension, but the excitement kind of overtook everything, and all of a sudden, one day driving to work, I stopped in at my doctor's for a mammogram, and they sent me right to another facility to get an ultrasound. And they were pretty sure. I mean, she was pretty sure when I was in there with her, it was cancer, and sure enough, it was. And I felt everything come to a screeching halt. You know, all the kind of like the hopes and dreams that I had, and life really shifted in that moment. Along came a lot of fear, a lot of personal growth as well. Um, and when I got to the end point of treatments and the doctor said there's no evidence of disease here, I felt like I really should be celebrating. And yet I went, oh my gosh. Like I tried to go back to my job as normal, another facet of my job. And I really felt so disconnected, as if the ground had shaken underneath me and hadn't resettled in any way that I could relate to. And so that brought me to a lot of questioning, searching. And actually, at that point, I actually met Tom somewhere in there, because I met Tom outside of the Cancer Journey Institute through Qigong, which was part of my searching. My search continued, and what I was searching for is to really know who I was. I had that question, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? But really what the question was is, who am I? And I really wanted to explore that. And so fast forward a little bit, and I met Shariann at one of, not this event, but another event where would welcome Shariann and Carrie at that time would welcome in people to get a taste of Cancer Journey coaching. And when I really felt a sense of hope. So there was like always a sense of hope, but this magnified my sense of hope so astronomically. And I went into the 12-week program that Shariann runs and dipped my toe in, and I really loved it. And I thought, ooh, I want to go through the coaching program because there's more for me here. There's more for me to learn about myself, and there's more for me to share with others. And that's what I did. I went through the coaching program. I got certified, and I thought, okay, I'm certified. Here we go. And what I didn't realize, that began another journey. It began the coach's journey, which has been incredible. And it goes through that same, ups and downs. And what the training prepared me for is how to be present with myself so that I could really be present for others, really be present and to hold space for others. And what I found is how much I absolutely love witnessing, sharing that space as others go through these journeys. Their journeys of, to me, I call it a journey of hope, even when it feels hopeless,
Right. That you can still be the light bearer of that hope.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maggie. And so now, as a Cancer Journey coach out here in your coach journey, as you said, what is it like? What is it like?
Well, no 2 days are the same.
Oh, we're getting a little bit of
me personally, and maybe everyone else is different.
You froze there for a moment, so
okay.
Let's try that question
so what it's
again.
Sure. Just start with the answer. Okay.
Yeah.
So what it's like for me is it's a time of connection, which is what my soul craves. And in that connection, there's something that I feel some deep healing happening between me and the person that I'm with, whether it's for me, whether it's for them, but there's something that happens between the two of us when we're in these conversations, when we're in this coaching relationship. Beautiful. I want to use the word magic, Shariann.
Yeah,
It's really grounded, but there is something so beautiful about really connecting heart to heart with somebody else and allowing them to be who they are and to see who they are.
right. I think that's the magic you're talking about is, you
Yes.
know, during cancer, it really takes our body down,
Hmm.
especially during the treatment phase. And there's no performing, there's no posturing, there's no posing. It's
Yeah.
like you're truly you in the
Hmm.
raw.
Yes. Yes. That's the word. It's like that rawness. There's beauty in that rawness. And allowing somebody, for a client to allow somebody, a coach, to witness them in their vulnerability, their most vulnerable, is really honoring. It feels honoring and sacred to me. And I hope that answers what your question was.
No, that's a fabulous answer. And let me just ask one more thing, because you mentioned healing, and
Mhm.
it feels that connection in the conversation between you and your client. It feels healing. So can you tell me more about what you mean by healing?
Yeah, the way I experience it is I feel that, we all go through so many life experiences. And then we have these beliefs, or maybe voices that we hear that where we don't, they're not always things that we hear that are positive, right? And then I just feel like it's kind of encasing us, almost like there's always that analogy to an onion, right? These layers and layers.
Right.
And I feel like when we're in that space and the guards are dropped, we're in that raw place that you described, you know, something comes off, like a layer of that, and we get
Mm.
to the real essence of ourselves.
So you get to the real
And so
essence of
I
the individual.
yeah, I feel like that the individual connecting with their own essence, connecting with who they are. I feel like that is the healing.
Mm. I feel that. That's just
Yeah.
beautiful and lovely. Thank you. So let's pause there. I'm sure we've got lots more to talk about. And let's bring in Tom. So, Tom, let's have you come on in and talk about your story so that our audience gets to hear about you.
Yeah. First off, I love hearing Maggie talk. I just know her personally and have seen her work, and she's just amazing to the way she connects with people. So it warms my heart. Um, for me, I think before I was before I had cancer, I was kind of still much a seeker and a looker for happiness and looking for a place to find true, enjoyment of life. And so I'd gone through a successful career as a businessman and doing commercial real estate, and it had gone really well. And I left that to become a business coach, thinking that coaching would be more meaningful and bring more happiness. And it was a bit better, but it wasn't really the level of fulfillment I was looking for. And so I was still kind of in the looking, seeking phase of things. And I went um, through the process of trying to get better at business coaching and happier about it. And then I got sick, and I had a black mold infection for about a year and a half, and then went through Lyme disease and for several years. And then cancer was the final stage of illness. So it was almost a 7-year process. And so in that whole process, I love that Maggie talked about getting raw, because I got raw and raw and raw. You know?
Layers are coming off of you.
Oh my goodness. And folks here don't know that Shariann, you were my coach during that time. And so, and you kept helping me excavate through the layers. You know, there was just so much armoring and so much conditioning that was between me and my authentic self. And so we did so much work in going into my body and feeling and experiencing and getting down to what's really happening at the deepest level of my experience. And that was a difficult but so meaningful process. It really opened me up to a whole nother level of experiencing life. And I broke through all the armoring to a more direct experience of day-to-day reality. And so I, you know, going through chemotherapy and all the difficulties of that were actually the end of my journey. And coming out of it, though, after all the treatments I'd gone through for all the illnesses I'd been through, I was pretty devastated. And so the coaching process really kicked into a higher gear post-treatment for me, because at that point, I had so much damage to my body that I was pretty desperate, and a lot of pain, a lot of nervous system pain, nerve pain, different systems shut down and things like that. And so the coaching, you as a coach had to walk alongside me through some pretty dark times. And there were things times where, you know, I was trying to decide whether I really wanted to live or not, because things were so difficult. So the coach, you know, what you did for me, and what I think the coach does is right down there with you. It's like they're willing to be in the darkness with you and allow you to explore the darkness. And by not turning away from the darkness, but actually turning towards the darkness, for me, I came back for myself. I was able to go all the way in. And you would always say, I've got you, I've got you. And, you know, I would always swear at you when you say that, you don't got me, I'm over here by myself. But eventually I felt like you really had me, and I felt like held by you. And I felt like I could let down and let you know what's really happening inside with me. So that was really powerful. As I started to get better through all the coaching work I did and the Qigong and some other things that I did, you know, I had been a business coach and I was ready to come back. And you talked to me about possibly being a cancer coach. I tried to do some coaching on my own. I was trained as a life coach originally, and then as a business coach. I had quite a bit of training, and I was, you know, meeting people that I'd met through the healing journey and trying to help them, and found I really couldn't help them the way I wanted to. And so I finally surrendered to, I guess I need more training. I can't believe it, but I need more training. And so I went through the Cancer Journey Institute and got trained. And the frameworks and the insights of that training were much deeper than I anticipated, because I thought I knew a lot through my experience of being coached, but actually it's like going behind the scenes in a movie. You know, you think you know what's going on, but there's the producer and there's so much going on to be a good coach. So it opened me up to a different way of working. And, you know, I think one of the struggles for me as a coach, coming from a very left brain business orientation, was helping people to get into their emotional body and listening to intuition and opening up insight and, you know, inner conviction. And that wasn't natural for me. And so the Cancer Journey training helped me to find another level of that and stay, you know, keep on the path of going deeper into that larger field of intuition, so that I could bring the wholeness of myself and the wholeness of the client into a deeper level of intimacy together. And that was a breakthrough for me in my coaching, and it's continued. I continue on this path of deeper intimacy with the client, with myself, with the spiritual intuition that can come through at different times. And the Cancer Journey work really took a deeper inflection point into that journey for me, and a significant part of it.
Thank you. I just, the pathway that you took is so deep that I could see the desire to, I know what was possible because I went deep. So I want to take my clients deep to that intimate part you're talking about. So just back to, bringing in a little bit of what Maggie said about healing, what are you seeing in your cancer journey coaching with your clients when you go to this deep, intimate place in relationship to healing?
You know, I was a pretty hard case to get to that healing place for myself, because, you know, getting down into the authentic, what's really, you know, what are the life changes, the emotional, you know, things that need to be surfaced. And so with my clients, it's really holding the space when they're ready, and being open that not every session, but there are every once in a while, there's a time when they're ready to go into a deeper level of personal intimacy. And as they do, they get to bring up and hopefully heal those parts that have been holding them back, whether it's making a choice or taking responsibility or letting go of certain things in their life. They get to pivot points. And I think we walk alongside them with the understanding that, you know, we're not doing it, we're just holding them until they're ready, but we're creating the space for them to see themselves when they're ready. It's like we're holding up the mirror that they're allowing us to hold up. And when it gets strong enough and clear enough, then they can see themselves and they go, you know what, I think I'm ready to make a new choice. And with the cancer journey, it's different than regular coaching because there is so many drama points, you know, in the process, whether it's a new test, a new treatment. You know, this morning I coached a client. She was trying to decide whether to do a clinical trial or 4 different chemos, or wait 3 months, or not do anything at all and give up. And so, you know, when they're at those level of choices, only she can make that choice. And she found the choice that was her choice. But, you know, as the coach, what I could use is the cancer journey tools that allowed her to get through all the fear and through all the reactivity, and finally down to her gut, down to her, you know, what she said, she wanted at the beginning of the session was, I want to get to my deepest conviction. And I think, you know, what the cancer journey coaching process does is it gives us the tools and the training to help people hold them until they can get to their deepest conviction. It's so important. There's so many choice points, realization points in the cancer journey. And so, yeah, that's, I think, really where the rubber meets the road in the coaching process.
Right. I mean, what I'm hearing you say is that there's this wrestle with ourselves, with the situation in a cancer journey, especially when you're making these hard decisions. You're faced with having to make these hard decisions and then trying to do it on your own. Like, how am I going to make this life decision and this life decision or this life decision? And having a coach there, especially one with tools and methodologies to help them get really clear on themselves, so they're making the decision that's true to them. That's kind of like the power moment.
It really is. I think it is. There's so much circling, cul-de-sacking, you know, in fear, and you know, there's no absolute choice. Nobody knows the best choice, but when people get to the choice that's the truth for them, there can be a whole release, a whole level of peace and just gratitude for, oh my gosh, at least I know what I'm doing. And that's worth an awful lot, as having been a cancer patient and knowing what it's like to get to a critical point and go, oh, I'm going this way. And then learning to trust that choice, you know, because so many people get to their gut or they get to their intuitive yes or no, and then they rethink it. Then another background critic comes up and tries to take that away. And so as coaches, we get to remind them, no. Remember, let's go back. This was a long process. You said this. Is it still true for you? You know, can you go back to that place again and just check in? And if they can, it gets them from going another, you know, one place is a cul-de-sac, another one's a wrong turn, right? It's like, and now they're really lost. They're out in the woods somewhere. So, yeah.
Oh, what I'm so hearing you say is, I stick with them. Like, we know we're going to go, we're digging for gold here. We're digging to find the answer that is truly theirs, that they can powerfully stand in. And when they do that, then that's the right solution for them. That's when
Yes.
the treatment can really work. That's when the healing can happen. And it takes a special person, which I think are the cancer journey coaches, equipped with the tools and the methodologies and all that, you've learned through the training to hold your client in that powerful of a way to also make that decision and find that decision for themselves.
I think you also bring forward, and I think we don't talk about this maybe enough, is that when people unmask their emotions and can bring them through, and when people get to a yes where they're fully leaning into a choice versus going back and pulling away from a choice but going anyway, the level of healing that can happen is so dramatically different. Because when you're fully in yourself, then all the hormones of self-love and self-confidence are running in your system, not all the hormones of fear and doubt. And when you're fully in a choice, and knowing it was your truth, then you're fully embracing the choice. And again, at the same time, when you're getting those treatments, you're more relaxed, you're more available, your system is stronger because you chose this fully, versus you're going in afraid the whole time and wondering why you're doing this, and you don't feel like you should be doing this, or you don't know you should be doing this. It's a whole different experience in the body system. The emotional support, the energetic support, the hormonal support is completely different. And that's where I think, cancer journey coaches not only make it a better trip, but they actually help the client contribute to their own healing process.
Oof. You just said a mouthful there. And I think we need to pause because that's so powerful, what you just said. It's like, where else would you get that tap into that well during the cancer journey, treatment phase, or just the cancer journey at all? So I'm going to pause us there with you because we could continue and continue. There's more to come. And let's bring in Cathy. So bring in Miss Cathy. There you are. Welcome, Cathy. I know it's like a hard act to follow, and yet your story is equally as fascinating. So tell me, what was life like before cancer, and then take me to the present.
Well, I've had 2 visits from cancer, and I'll start with my second. I was working at a business that I started as a virtual assistant, and I had a full client load, and I was in front of my computer 8 hours a day for 5 days a week. And I was finding ways to find joy outside of that, but it wasn't during those days. It started out as I want to be in charge of my time, and it ended up not being that at all. So I was diagnosed accidentally, well, okay, so the first time it was accidentally. The second time I was misdiagnosed for 8 months. And
Wow.
by the time it was diagnosed correctly, it had spread to all my bones had it, in my core. And so I went through radiation and chemotherapy, and then started a regimen of maintenance drugs, and tried all these different methodologies to heal my body, therapy. I visited naturopathic doctors and trying all these different things. And when I got that second diagnosis, the first thing I did was let go of all the clients I didn't like working with. It was like, yes,
Permission.
So that was the first thing I did. But I continued to work with the clients who I really enjoyed. And it also freed up time for me. So I did that. And that was the first good thing that happened. The rest was all searching and throwing spaghetti at the wall. And then through UCSF, I saw this program, this workshop. I think it was a 2-day workshop called Chaos to Clarity from the Cancer Journey Institute, and Shariann led that. And it was the first time in 11 years that I felt in good company. I had felt alone in this journey. I had oncology and medical doctors I trusted. I had gone to a therapist who just didn't get me. And I had friends and family who loved me and were around me. And I felt their desire to help me and be there for me. But it wasn't, I felt protective of them. I didn't want them to feel bad for me. I didn't want, I put up a brave front. So, and then when I walked into this workshop, it was like, oh, that's what's going on. That's what I'm feeling. I get it. And so I went through this 2-day experience, and then Shariann discovered I was a virtual assistant. And so I came on board to help out, which has been amazing. I'm still with them. And I also received coaching from one of the Institute coaches, which I went through the nine session series. And, that really helped me to be able to see a future, because until I went through this process, all I could see was a black screen. I was like, well, what do I want? I don't know what I want. I don't see anything. I see no future. I just have to get through this. I have to conquer this cancer. I have to get through it. I can't have a life until after, so that was a process that coaching really helped me with. And then I was starting to function better, and Shariann suggested, why don't you do fundamentals? And I was like, nah. And then finally I said, okay, I'll do fundamentals, which is the 12-week training program. So I did that, and again, my world just opened up. It was a life-changing experience. I learned about my strengths, and I was beginning to connect with my empathy, which is my number one strength, which I had become very good at not feeling it, at blocking it out and trying to push it down. So the fundamentals was great. And then I decided I needed more. I didn't think I could be a coach at that point. I was like, I don't know if I can do this, but I need this. And it was a whole healing process for me. The whole journey of learning to become a coach. And about halfway through, I started to really embrace who I was, who I am, and realize, oh, I'm a coach. I'm someone who my friends have always come to me to listen and be non-judgmental, and so that became really clear to me, and I continued to heal. And lo and behold, I passed the testing and have become certified as a coach. And I have, I'm still working through cancer. I still have it. However, I consider myself thriving now. I'm living my life. I'm making plans. I have goals, and I'm not waiting anymore, because why? Because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And, and talking with people about what a cancer journey coach is, with friends and family, and I've assisted a couple of workshops People who have a cancer experience, either a patient, a friend, a caregiver, are just hungry for this information
Mhm.
and really find solace in it, in being, oh, that same realization that I had the first time of my workshop. Oh, I'm not alone in this.
Right.
And so I find great satisfaction and a warmth in my heart when I can feel that that somebody is being seen by me and being helped by knowing that they are more powerful than they know,
Mhm.
that they have choices and perspectives to help them through the worst of it.
Right. And that I mean, I feel the change in you from when I first met you in the Chaos to Clarity workshop to now, where you and when you to where you are right now, just standing like, I know this and I can do this, and I see the impact that I have on the people who are going through their cancer journey. And I mean, even right now, your face is lit up. It's no longer that dark haze that it was like, Shariann, I don't know what the future, I don't know. I can't see a future. I remember that it was almost like I'm holding tight to that belief and that's it. But
Yeah,
when you let go of that, yeah.
exactly. I didn't want to set myself up for a disappointment or for failure or whatever that was that I didn't want to expose myself to. And that was fear.
Right. So now when you look at your future, what do you see?
I see possibilities. I see, I might not have the future that I had hoped I would before cancer. That's not possible for me right now. But there's all kinds of other things that could give me the same feelings. Being traveling is scaled down a little bit. Being with friends at this point in my life is not impacted at all. I'm making plans and, so it's definitely.
I'm looking at you going, yes, I'm cutting back a little bit on travel, and you just went to Hawaii. So for most people, going to Hawaii is not cutting back. So
Yeah.
just like you live your life.
Duration.
Yes.
I would say, yeah.
Thank you for sharing this. You're so alive now. So
Yes,
what I want to do.
I feel so, and I feel that people, there is life and there's cancer. It's not either or. Is how.
Wow.
I get now.
Can you say that one more time? Because that's huge.
There is life and there is cancer, or there is cancer and there is life. It's not either or. Yeah.
That's
They
quite
can
a
be side
statement.
by side.
Yeah, you get to still live,
Mhm.
and you are,
Mhm.
and you get to help other people do the same thing.
Yeah.
All right. So let's bring everybody back here together. As soon as I can get to that on my computer. All right.
And
Thank
Shariann,
you.
I'm hearing somebody in the background, so I don't know if we can. I don't know if I'm the only person hearing that.
Probably me.
Okay. Thank you, Cathy. I'm just taking in those luscious stories that you just shared. And you could feel how heartfelt those stories are and were. It's like, this is what I went through. This is the crux. This is a big part of it in a whole, 6 minutes. And here's where I am now. So thank you. And what a lovely introduction. And I would love to get some questions answered that were posed to us. I have this list and I'm like, should I just start at the top? I think I'll just start at the top. So what I'd like to do is kind of just pose this question, and whoever feels like, oh, I want to grab onto that first, let's do that, and then we'll kind of see where it goes. So the first question is, what did you hope you would get from Cancer Journey Coach, the Cancer Journey Institute and its training? And
Could you put your headset on?
there we go.
We can restart this.
Yes. So the question I'd like to start off with is, what did you hope that you would have gotten out of your training program with the Cancer Journey Institute? And what did you really get? There was this.
Can I answer that?
Yes. Please, Maggie.
I hoped to just not feel so isolated, alone, and bad about it. I think I was in a bit of a depression at that time. And I just wanted to feel okay, you know. And I also, you know, then as I got further in and further in, it was that real sense of hope that there's something more for me to discuss. And so, you know, once I knew that I was okay, it became something much different for me. It just became a way to share, a way to the depths of despair and hopelessness that I had felt. I wanted to be there for somebody else who, you know, and to be the, you know, to be able to say, you know, I know you can do this because I did it. And I felt, you know what I mean? I just felt a huge weight. It is as if I had fog and a weight constantly kind of around me, and it dissolved over time. It really did. And it's through the coaching I received, but also through the training, because as I was training, I was doing the things, I was using the tools, I was working with other people to support myself. And I feel grateful for that, because I look and I see this smile on my face and I go, I don't remember that person coming into the first session. I remember, you know, kind of afraid, shy, apprehensive. And that was how I approached a lot of life at that time.
Wow. That's so vulnerable for you to say, and so wonderful, because as you were saying it, I'm like, oh, I know that place. And not necessarily my experience, but my experience of people coming in. It's like, I'm lost.
Yeah.
And I have lost the hope. And so how do I get this back? So a lot of people come specifically for themselves. It's like, I know this is a place that can help me because this is what you do. And at the same time, I'm going to learn a thing or two, but then they end up learning more than a thing or two, and realizing that I can use that situation that I was in, that place that I was in, and how I transformed to help somebody else do that too, especially through the cancer journey.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom, I got a nod from you. So is there something you wanted to add in there?
Oh no, I'm just acknowledging that same experience, and yeah. So yeah. You know, I
Is
had
there
a little
something? Yeah,
you know,
go
I just
ahead.
had a different experience, but it was I think I came for hoping to get some help, having some tools to have different conversations with clients. And that's what I thought I was coming for. So I'm a big tools guy. So I wanted the tools and the practices and all this stuff. And that's what I came in for. What I got out the back was really, I started to be able to let go of being the fix-it guy as a coach. I got to let go of trying to be the problem solver as a coach, which wasn't helping my coaching and it wasn't helping my clients. And it was a huge burden for me to have an answer for my clients and know what to do for them or help them figure out what they needed to do. It was so heavy and it was killing my coaching career and my ability to even enjoy coaching. And so the cancer journey training started to, and you guys were pretty tough on me in a good way. I got my lunch handed to me a few times in training in a good way, and it started to get me to let go. And it opened up my own intuition. It helped me bring in more of the client's intuition, and more right brain thinking. And at the same time, I felt a bigger experience of wisdom coming through. You know, when I relaxed, there's like a spirit of wisdom that came into the session that started to show up, and you know, a larger intuition, if you will, the global intuition, whatever you want to call that spiritual space. And so I could then bring back my own wisdom, but little doses of it at the right time. You know, like my experience was great, but it didn't need to, I wasn't there trying to solve anything. I was there really listening to all these different spaces of what was going on, deeply connecting the client, deeply listening and letting things come through versus always calculating and getting ready. You know, because before I found myself getting ready, which is really not listening. So, you know, in the training, I was taught to really listen at a different level, and to trust that the listening itself would bring forward what needed to happen. I didn't have to get ready for anything. So, and that took a lot of surrendering for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. So what happened for you when you let that go? You let go of Mr. Fix-It and
I would say
allowed.
I'm a recovering fixer. So I would say he's still there in the background, but I can tell you now, most of the time, 90% of the time, I so trust that the answer is going to come through that I just listen for the answer to come in. I'm not thinking about or calculating an answer. It doesn't mean I don't listen with my left brain or, you know, do some contextual listening. Most of the time, I'm just allowing it to kind of sit there, and then something comes through me. And that's a whole different way of coaching. And as a result, you know, some of these situations, like the one I described earlier, where a client is going through some really major decisions, that would be like so horrendous for me before, because I figured I had to help her figure it out. And I don't. You know, when I finally get to that, and I know and I trust the process that I've been taught through the training, and also just trust the field that's created through that training, then I know that she or he will get to that conviction in the space that we're creating together. And that's a huge relief for me. And it creates an enjoyment and a richness in coaching that allows me to continue to coach and to grow into coaching in a very different way. And coaching becomes lighter and lighter and richer and richer. Yeah.
And it feels like easier and easier. I mean, that's the words that seem to come after.
Easier and
Like,
easier. Yeah.
beautiful. Cathy, I know you touched a little bit about it in your story. Is there anything that you wanted to add of, you know, this is what I thought it was going to be like, but this is what it really was like?
Well, I really had no idea how deep and effectual it would be for me. And the transformation and the training was just, I'm without words. It was just, it was so much more than what I expected.
I'm so glad. So, Maggie, was there something else you wanted to add?
No, sorry.
I know it's like, I think we could just talk about this topic all day long. There seems to be a lot of questions here that kind of point to understanding the difference between cancer journey coaching and therapy, or cancer journey coaching and patient navigation or advocacy. How would you, in your own words, kind of differentiate cancer journey coaching from those other professional modalities that are out there? Who wants to take this one?
I can take some of it if you want for a little bit. Just
Okay.
my experience. Well, I've spent quite a bit of time with a therapist and quite a bit of time with coaching. So it's interesting to see the difference. There's so many different types of therapy and there's many different types of coaching. But fundamentally, my experience of therapy is unburdening a lot of early childhood type experiences and other traumas that have happened in life. And that is a part of the process for sure. That's something that we cover as coaches. But there's a whole different space that we're looking to in working with the client, which is we're specifically taking them through a process that's a journey. And that journey has different phases to it. And having the special education of understanding what those phases are and what happens in those different phases, the different types of doubts, the different levels of lostness, and knowing where they are in that process helps us to create a context and a space of understanding for them. And also we coach differently at those different phases. The other thing is that we're also working with awareness practices. And I think some therapists do this too. So I think there's some crossover. I love the way we're trained to do it. It allows people to see when they're circling in different parts of the way that they're understanding or working with things. And we get them to find their way into their deeper truth. And I think therapists do this too in a different way, but we're working and processing them with allowing them to express their fears, meet their fears, look into their fears, and then move beyond their fears. Cathy expressed it so well in her journey, I think, in the way she talked about it, and Maggie did too, as far as just seeing what she got from training, going in with an experience of from me, anxiety was what I brought into training, I should know everything, or when I was in cancer, what do I do? So I think, coaches, cancer coaching is different in the way that we walk alongside people. We have an understanding and experience that's specific to the cancer journey. Mm-hmm. And it creates a sense of relevancy and connection that people feel seen and heard in a different way. Again, Cathy expressed this the best, I think, is that she found her people. She found people that understood where she's coming from. And that was my experience, having worked with a therapist and then having afterwards worked with a coach. The game shift was so different because we started to go on a very different path of intimacy, directly into the specific fears that most cancer patients go through, and knowing what those are and how they go. There's just a whole different orientation. We kind of know generally where things are going to go, and we know the fundamental spaces people hang out at, and we're comfortable sitting in those with people. And a regular therapist, I haven't had that experience. They haven't had that kind of training. And so I would go with them, and I do go to them for different things. I still go to them for emotional help and things like that.
Thank you. I love from your personal experience and bringing that forward into what we're talking about here. Do either of you have anything else to add about the differentiation between therapy or even patient advocacy, navigation?
I guess the one thing I would add, because I do often meet people who come to me initially thinking, do I want coaching or do I want navigation assistance? And because there is a difference. So what I often talk with them about is we're here to support them on the mental, emotional, and spiritual parts of this journey. Mm-hmm. And the navigator is really navigating the medical situation, the physical things, the medical parts. That's my short answer to that.
Oh, I think that's a really nice container to hold it. And it's true. We do often at the Cancer Journey Institute get psychosocial therapists that come and say, I want more tools, as Tom says. And so we'll teach them some of the models that we have, and they're welcome to use that in their sessions. So then they become this kind of cross hatch between a therapist and a little bit of a coach, so therapy coach. And then we do get navigators and advocates who are saying, yeah, I do the medical, arena, helping them truly navigate within that system. But I've got an emotional patient here. And I don't feel like I'm serving them unless I can help them with that. And so they come and say, please help us be much more emotionally intelligent. Please let me know what to do when somebody's having, an anxiety attack. What do I do? And we are so happy to provide that additional education to those professionals too. I mean, we all just have the same desire to help someone on this journey. And so we're not going, oh, if you're a therapist, you can't have these tools. Of course you can. And we do. We have them as part of our cadre of coaches that are part therapist, part psychosocial professional, part navigator, part advocate. So we've got the whole gamut, and everybody is welcome. And that wasn't me supposed to do a show there, but I just needed to add that in. A couple more questions. One is, what would you want to say to a patient or a caregiver or a survivor, and you could take them each separately? What would you say to them about cancer journey coaching? Should I take it separately? Should we just start with what would you say to a patient who's considering, or maybe even like curious about a cancer journey coach? What would you want to say to a patient? Maggie, and then Cathy.
Well, often what I say is I just find out where they are. That's really what I do. Because everybody goes through, even though they go through the similar phases, they go through it so differently.
Mm-hmm.
I've had patients who, have kind of had, I'll say, relatively easier treatment schedule, and then some that are just really extreme and intense. Or maybe they come at the tail end of treatments, maybe they come in the beginning, they come in all different phases. So I really just try to connect heart to heart with this person and know that I see them, I'm with them.
Yeah. Well,
even though my journey is different from theirs, because all of our journeys are different, we still go through a lot of the same things. And I do, maybe not in words, but I hold a place of hope. I do hold that, even though we meet in the place where my client is, but I hold a place of hope.
It's beautiful. I think any patient would love to hear that. Cathy, as the patient,
Well,
to a
what
patient.
you just said is beautiful, and I echo that. I also would add that everybody's journey is different and unique to them, and that I meet you where you are, and with the tools that I've learned through this coaching training, I'm here to walk that with you and hold that place of hope and companionship through that journey.
Yeah. Thank you. And so what would you guys say to a caregiver who's walking alongside their beloved patient, going through the same thing, but beside them? What would you say?
What I say to most caregivers, I just said this to somebody last week, is that many times the caregiver's journey is much harder than the patient's journey. And that it's so easy for them to overlook that and to put all of their energy and all of their care and all of their focus on the patient that's going through so much. There's so much drama with the testing and the treatment with the patient. And there's so much focus on the patient that the caregiver is usually the one that is out in the cold trying to get through. So, kind of holding up on their own and usually not having the level of support, whether it's physical support, getting things done and getting to appointments, or it's emotional support. Or even it's, clarity support, strategy support. Like, how do I get this all done? There's too much in a day, because most caregivers have a job in addition to, taking care of the patient, and they have to take care of themselves, which is usually on the last on the list. So I think there's a whole education process, opening the eyes of the caregiver, that if you go after this as, Florence Nightingale or whatever you want to call it, and become the rescuer, that it's going to be a tough go. And that's going to be natural. And we can embrace that part of you, and also at the same time, come back for the part of you that needs nourishment and needs support and needs help. And so it gives them a place to know that they're seen and cared for. And in some ways advocating for that as well. We have patient advocates, but we don't have caregiver advocates. And I think, I think a lot of what the coach does is help the patient caregiver to understand that they need to advocate for themselves, even when it's hard to do that.
Yeah. Beautiful. So here comes the one that, when we talk about support, there isn't a whole lot, and that is the survivor. And when I say survivor, it's the person that's done with their active treatment. They may be into some maintenance drug or support for something that's chronic, but they're done with the active treatment. What would you say to the survivor? What would you want to say to the survivor? Let's put it that way.
Depends where they are in that moment. I know after my first experience, I just took off and was like, done, I'm on with my life. And I didn't realize that I had been changed. And I think that I would say that there are changes and that you can ignore them now, but they'll circle back. And as a coach, it's our job to help reveal those changes and reconnect with, to use a cancer journey term, your innocence, your joy, your child, what brings you alive.
Yeah. Thank you. What else would you say to the survivor?
I love what Cathy said. It's just because there's so much that happens. It's, whether we've dealt with the fear of our journey through the treatments, there's like a whole new set of circumstances that comes up for us as survivors. Plus, now I'm expected to be in my normal life. People around me are expecting me to be the same old person I was. And oftentimes it can be challenging in relationships, even our children, our partners, other family members may want us to be the way that we were before. And now we've learned that we have to set certain boundaries. We're taking a different approach to self-care, and it's an adjustment for everybody. And I feel like that's often a place where we start to readjust to our relationships. And then the aliveness. What really is bringing us alive?
Tom, I feel it. Tip of your tongue.
I do. Well, I know. I just love what you just pointed to, because I think the reorientation of relationships is one of the hardest things that goes on, both in the final phase of treatment, but definitely on the survivorship level, because for some people, they can't relate to some relationships anymore, and they have to let those go. And they find that those relationships are actually part of what may have brought them to illness in the first place, because they were not a healthy relationship. And other ones need to be redesigned, and that takes courage and strength and clarity. That this is important, and I think in the coaching process, helping people to get clear about the conviction around what they really need, and then holding to that and what's at stake for going back to the old pattern is a critical part of them reclaiming or claiming their new life. Otherwise, they go back to the life they had before in some ways, and but adopt some of the behaviors that weren't healthy in the first place. And so I think that's really important. And I think the other part that that Cathy and Maggie are pointing to is that there can be some experiences that weren't processed during the illness, different treatments. I know for me, there was several different major treatments, surgeries and things like that, and periods of time where I was under, drug treatments or things like that, where I couldn't process the emotional experience that was going on. And I needed to unpack those things. I needed to get into my body and really feel where those things were holding up in myself, because I couldn't get to the aliveness. We talk about what's alive for you now. We want to expand now, but there's things that are still sitting down there, keeping me closed and protected because I haven't processed them yet. And so that's a big part of the coming back that I think is critical. Otherwise, I think the sense of aliveness gets cut off. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you've said quite a mouthful. I just want to bring in a story about my return. Is I went through my cancer journey like a quarterback. I took the ball and I ran and I was going for the field goal. And then at the end, I popped my head up and went, okay, am I done? Not paying attention to what I just ran. And I'm just kind of paraphrasing or giving a metaphor for what you just said, Tom. And it's like, and then this all came back, it's still there. It still needs to be processed. And lo and behold, I have other cancers too. As I think it was Cathy who said visits, or maybe it was Maggie who said visits, that allowed me the opportunity to process. But yes, it's still there. And we can't get to our aliveness until we touch that. So thank you for bringing that up, Tom. That is really important. Very important. I have one last question for all of you. For someone who's thinking about taking the Cancer Journey Institute's training, whether it's fundamentals, whether it's certification, what is one thing you would like to say to them?
I'd like to say, what do you feel in your heart when you think about this, and you just connect with your heart and take a deep breath. No rush, just be with it. What's your experience? What's your experience of the people that you've met through the Cancer Journey Institute? What's your experience with any of the programs? And just see if that's in alignment with what you really want. And welcome to you. Whether you're here for a free program or whether you decide to enroll in the bigger programs.
Thank you, Maggie.
Mm-hmm.
Cathy.
I would say to someone considering the coaching program, what I would, like Maggie said, what brought you here? What is it that is drawing you to this company? And the experience, I would say the experience of the training is as much personal growth as it is training to become a coach. Because you experience the tools that as you're learning to use them in your support for others. Yeah.
Thank you, Cathy. Tom, take it to the rear for us. Bring it home.
Yeah, I think in the end, knowing whether the Cancer Journey Coaching Institute is the place that you belong is really getting to your heart and how you feel about working with people with cancer and their caregivers. If you've had an experience that touched you in some way, a family member or yourself that brought you into the orbit of cancer, you know that it affects every part of a person's life. And I think that the three of us have been speaking about a sacred experience to walk alongside somebody, that it's not for everybody, but if you are called for it, it's very meaningful work. It's fulfilled for me a deep sense of meaning and giving back that I couldn't replace in any other work that I've done. And by answering that calling, you get to deepen a part of yourself that I don't know that you deepen any other way. If this is really your calling, then it will deepen you and take you to places. It's taken me to places I could never have imagined before. And as a result, I have a much bigger life. It's more meaningful. I feel more connected. I have more trust in greater purpose and greater intuition and greater knowledge, and a much greater love, because this requires great love to do this work. But if you're willing, it'll really open your heart, and it'll really open your connection to spirit and your connection to your fellow human being. So it does take some courage to say yes. For a lot of it did for me, and Shariann had to work on me for a few months to get me to finally say yes. And all I can say is, if you can just sit with yourself and see if that yes is there. If it's not, that's okay. But if it is there, then I hope you'll take the first step and have a conversation or attend a free experience or talk to one of us that have coached for a while. Because it's either a yes or a no in life. The callings are yes or no's, and they come from the heart. They don't come from the head. So I think getting to your yes, is the most important thing that we do. And so hopefully the people that are feeling that pull, that have had that experience, will take the time to sit with it and not just walk past it. Because for me, I'm so glad I walked in that door. It definitely changed the whole trajectory of my life, and I'm so grateful for it.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Cathy. This has been a lovely panel, and the insight and the words and of wisdom that you've shared with us is fantastic. I echo, Tom, that it is a call, and for that reason, we have our book, The Call of Cancer, available on Amazon. That will give you, if you're interested in understanding the work that we do, more depth of one of our tools called the Cancer Journey Roadmap. I thank you for being here today. Yes, we have many other programs, free and paid. We invite you to all of it if you feel called to it. And we would love to actually have a conversation with you if you would like to talk about it more. If it feels like, I'm very curious about this. So thank you for joining us today. I look forward to talking to you in the near future. Thank you again, and have a lovely rest of your day. Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.